right. Welcome back to the Connect podcast. If this is your first time here, we want to especially welcome you. We have so much fun answering questions, real questions that people are asking. We at the Connect podcast, what we like to do is connect God's word to real life issues, what we're dealing with today. And so I've got my good friend, Pastor Bobby here with me, Bobby Fraumann. I'm Cole Phillips, and we're going to talk about some different questions today that we've received that are just questions that people deal with on a regular basis, and so often we don't talk about these in church, but no topic is off limits for us. And today we're talking about aliens, UFOs, UAPs. And so, some light topics we'll be dealing with today.
Here we go.
Just a normal, easy conversation. And I love these questions because faith doesn't run from questions. You don't check your brain at the door when you walk into a church. You shouldn't. You need to be able to ask real questions. And Christianity isn't built on pretending that these hard issues don't exist. Christianity is built on the truth. God is big enough to handle all your questions. And we don't claim to have all the answers either. We're not trying to say that we know every answer to every question. So some of this is just our thoughts and opinions, but hopefully filtered through our understanding of the Word of God. And Bobby, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Before we jump into
I'm doing
it.
great.
Before we jump in. Yeah.
Doing amazing.
Yeah. What'd you do for Mother's Day?
We went to, the Connection Church. Phenomenal. Great service. Powerful time of worship. And then we went to my mom's house and we spent time with my mom, my sister, and my wife, celebrating them. So all the guys did cleaning and the pampering, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I wanted to take a nap.
Yeah.
By the time Sunday kind of rolls to an end on the church side, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, 4 services. It's something. It's something to experience.
4
full services, lots of people, lots of new faces. And we get into the Word of God. And the thing about the Bible is, doesn't address every modern invention, or technological advancement. It's not intended to, but we find the principles in the Bible that really guide us on any life issue. We need to understand how to rightly divide it, rightly understand it, and interpret it. Yes. And so that's going to help us as we get into our topics today. So getting into the alien question, did you ever watch?
Yes. Ancient Aliens on History?
That's not what I was going to talk about. I should talk about that.
I watched with the guy with the crazy hair.
Yeah. What was your favorite episode of that?
The one where the aliens are on the dark side of the moon. And the moon is a space station, for an observation station for the aliens to have a close eye and be in close proximity in case we were to go rogue. They could step in and intervene. I remember that episode like it was yesterday, but I think I watched it when I was like 20 or something.
Wow. Okay. So what I was going to talk about is Twilight Zone. Did you ever watch Twilight Zone? Did you actually watch it, or just?
I have seen it. I was not a watcher.
Yeah. Well,
but I have seen it. So I couldn't recall.
They've redone this series several times through the decades, and sometimes they remake the same episodes in just a modern way. But the one that I remember, one of them so good, but one of them was an episode called "To Serve Man."
Okay.
And so what happens is these aliens come to Earth, visit the Earth, and at first they seem nice, they seem helpful, they seem peaceful, they're sharing their technology. They're actually ending hunger on the planet, and they're solving some of our hardest problems. And they have this book that's called To Serve Man. and we get some of our best language experts to start working on decoding the book. It says in English "To Serve Man" on the cover, but the inside is all written in alien
hieroglyphic
language.
Yeah.
And so everybody's so excited that they're here to help us. And then the twist comes when people are actually boarding on to their spaceships, and they're getting taken away to another planet. Someone finally translates the "To Serve Man" book. It turns out that it is a cookbook to serve man. How do you so it's pretty funny. It's a kind of a joke,
a human burger.
Yeah. So if aliens ever land and they say they're here to serve us, I need a little more information.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to need a little more verification.
Am I the one you're serving up? Am I on the menu?
So, there's a lot of speculation and curiosity and a lot of nonsense out there.
Yes.
When it comes to the UFOs, is what they used to be called, unidentified flying objects. Now they're called UAPs, which stands for, do you know that?
UAP, unauthorized, I don't know, unmanned authorized personnel, something.
Yeah, aliens, secret government information. And what do we do? What do we do as Christians? What do we do as, people? And so this topic has risen to the surface. And frankly, some people get really excited about it. I'm like, okay, I guess I've got to delve into some of this because people do have questions. And May 8th, 2026, that was Friday, the Department of War released more than 160 previously classified files connected to the unidentified anomalous phenomena. So they were documents, photos, videos, eyewitness accounts, reports, and all these files. They go back to the 1940s.
Do you remember that scene from the movie National Treasure where they're in the Congressional Library in DC? And they're trying to find that little notebook that would have information on the treasure map, the next puzzle piece clue. And he's like, we've got to go. Security's coming down on us real quick. Secret Service, like the police. And he's trying to flip, and he's like, ooh, aliens.
Oh,
because there's that little page that this notebook is only for the president of the United States. Do you remember that? And he was like, it stops on that. And even Hollywood is just always perpetuating, there's something that the president knows that we don't know.
And if you think about just the push in our culture of space movies in Hollywood, is fun, and all the different ways that might go down, but it is sort of given us ideas of what it would be like or what it could be like. But these accounts go back to the 1940s. And they also come all the way up to more recent military encounters. And they're connected to the Department of War, the FBI, and NASA, and their descriptions of orbs, flying saucers, metallic objects, things that are moving really fast. And we've got to be careful because the release of the documents is not the government saying, oh, there is definitely alien life. That's not what they're even proposing. It means these are just records of things that people have videoed or speculated about or investigated, and they can't fully explain all of them. They don't know. And so, there's a big difference when you say there are some unidentified technology or things that appear on a video that we need to understand better, and the idea that aliens are here and it's time to panic. So last week, another thing that happened of interest is that there were these pastors that came out on video on YouTube and social media that said that they were invited to a private meeting with government officials regarding the UAP files and disclosures. And so So according to the reports and according to these pastors, and it's funny because it was like, it says well-known pastors, and I didn't know any of these pastors. I know a lot of pastors.
Yes.
And, there was no Franklin Graham, there was no Greg Laurie, no one like that. It was some guys that are have a bigger interest in sort of the paranormal, end times, things like that, that just happened to be invited. It turns out they were invited from a Christian publishers convention in Nashville, and that they were attending.
Mm-hmm.
And then some guys showed up there and said, "Hey, we want to take you and show you something else." And it turns out that they weren't really from the government, but they were people who had, maybe maybe a history with the government, whatever that means.
In the know.
Yeah, and these claims got really wild. The pastors were saying some of these revelations could shake people's faith, and the Daily Mail, as I said on Sunday, said these were Bible-changing revelations. And then other people are saying, "Hey, this is not alien life, but this may be interdimensional." They use the word interdimensional creatures.
Yeah.
Also demons. Also that this could be part of an end times deception. And they talked about reptilian beings.
I heard that language, that the reptilians are coming down.
Yeah, which kind of to me makes me think of, okay, these are things that we've pictured in science fiction movies for a long time. What makes us think that they are, going to look like reptiles?
Or the little grays, or the Area 51 bug eyes.
Yeah. And is it interesting that we associate Satan with the snake in the garden,
the serpent,
and then we've got reptilian.
Well, here's something fascinating.
Okay.
In Genesis, Satan is depicted as a snake.
Mm-hmm.
In Revelation, he's depicted as a dragon.
Yeah. So there's a common thread there, I suppose.
Just the growth of his evil. I've always interpreted that like, what power he had there. Then when it's at the end, right before Jesus comes back, it's much bigger, it's much greater, it's much larger.
Yeah.
Than what he had in Genesis.
Yeah.
But Jesus still wins. Anyways, I digress.
So that's good. No, I love it. There are things that obviously we can't explain, which points to the fact that there is a spiritual reality and there's a spiritual dimension. But the idea that there's this group of pastors that have inside information, regarding the collapse of Christianity, and the idea that the thing that was frustrating to me, it's like, oh, if you're not preparing your people for an alien invasion, then what's wrong with you? And so it's good that we have the podcast, because this is a great place to talk about it. And if you're interested in this, then stick with us, because we're going to get into a lot of the theology actually behind all of this today.
I'm very fascinated by it. I was very bothered that you have pastors going out and making social media announcements, whistleblowers, in a sense, that had to backtrack their stories.
Yeah.
And a day, 24 hours later, those are my thoughts and my opinions on how I interpreted what I was exposed to or heard. I took what I listened to and filtered it through my own personal beliefs, and I made a statement.
Right. So this pastor said that a Missouri congressman called in to their meeting, which he did.
Yeah.
But that he said he told the leaders that the aliens were going to claim that they were our creators and that they invented Christianity. And then he came back, like you said, a day later, and said, well, he didn't really say that. I said that. And that was my own opinion. So that to me really speaks to someone's credibility.
Yep.
And of course, I'm sure he was told by the congressman and his office and all to say, hey, you're going to have to.
You better take it back.
Retract that.
You better take it back or cry uncle.
Yeah. And so, we don't have to get worked up about every rumor that we hear. And we certainly don't want to build our theology on someone's podcast clip unless it's the Connect podcast. Okay. And we don't need to panic every time somebody has secret information or claims to have secret information, because what has to come into play here is discernment, biblical discernment. That's developed over time. There is a spiritual realm. There are angels and demons, and there are also people who can exaggerate and who can speculate and sometimes just say things that just need to be dismissed. You don't have to investigate every claim because sometimes they're so out there that you can just smell it if you are walking closely.
Yeah, and I
Christ.
love the word discernment. We've both heard it defined many times in the circles that we run in, that leadership is discernment.
Yeah.
And a good leader displays great discernment. Where do we go? What's the next step? What's the next move? It's wisdom. We've been going through the book of Ecclesiastes. We just talked about wisdom on Mother's Day. Get wisdom above all else. It's more precious than rubies and gold. If you don't have it, ask for it. I don't like people coming out, and I'm guilty of it a lot of the times, but coming out and making statements without any knowledge or discernment going into what you're verbalizing, what you're communicating, what you're telling. And I think to me, that was the biggest dropped ball in this whole release of information with the UAP, the UFO files,
that's good.
the alien.
That's good. Yeah, I want to come back to that. So hold on to that.
Got it.
Problem with the release. But I just wanted to say, it's fun to listen to all the speculation, to get caught up in it all. And people can do that. Be careful. But as for you and I, we really can't afford to do that because we're leading many other Christians. And so we cannot get caught up in wild speculations. We don't want to be gullible. We don't want to be deceived. We don't want to be deceived and say, oh, there's no possible way and not look into it. But at the same time, we have to be extra careful, I think, in terms of falling for every current conspiracy.
The times that let's just be honest, the devil's gotten me the most, it was the hit I never saw coming. And, I just look at that with the alien thing too. Like, that could be the great deception. That could be the way that Satan comes back and tricks the world and sets it up and all the believers fall away. But it's also the thing, like, he's not going to show you his final play. Hey, it's the magician trick. Look over here, get caught up on this while I'm actually doing this.
That's good. And that's sometimes
that's discernment.
That's sometimes the government as well.
Oh yeah.
That they're like, hey, look over here at this crazy thing, and don't look at these other things that we're doing.
We see that all the time.
But yeah, everybody wants the files, and we know the government can be deceptive, and we know the government hides things.
Yeah.
But putting this stuff just out there for every single person to develop conspiracies around, that bothers me too. Like when you talk about just dropping all these files, like, should some things stay classified? Not for our protection because we can't handle it in the sense that, oh, it's too much or too scary. It's like we can't handle it because we got a bunch of, unhinged people that want to lead other people into all different kinds of directions. So that's a issue for me. But so don't be gullible and don't be afraid.
How many people spent time this past weekend combing through the files and not God's word?
Yeah. And they're going to release more supposedly. And we don't have to run from the truth. X-Files, the truth is out there. Well, the truth actually, my friends, is in here. This is the truth, right? So this is where we find it. And we don't have to baptize every conspiracy theory in religious language either, because our faith isn't built on secret meetings or leaked intelligence or viral videos. It's built on Jesus, him crucified and risen. Yes. And so if there are some unexplained things in the sky, we need to look at them. If there are rumors, we need to test them. And if somebody claims to have some secret message that's going to cause the church to panic, one of the first things we need to do is take a deep breath, open the Bible, and remember that God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, that he's given us the truth. And that leads us to the main question that we're going to deal with, and maybe some other questions. But this may honestly just take all of our time today. And
do we need a drum roll? Do I need a tinfoil hat?
Yes, the tinfoil hat. The tinfoil hat for the conspiracies actually is related to what? Aliens reading your mind. So we're really in tinfoil hat territory today. Would the existence of aliens cause us to reject the Bible? If aliens showed up, would we reject the Bible? Short answer, no. That's the short answer. Podcast over. No.
But on the other side of that, for us, maybe, no, absolutely not. For a lot of Christians out there today, I think it absolutely would.
So I saw this meme actually that I posted, and I probably shouldn't have, but it's some cartoons that says the person's like pointing to a spaceship and says, "Everybody look, aliens, that proves there's no God." And then the guy looks at the alien and says, "Share with us your bountiful true wisdom, O wise space traveler." And the alien, who's wearing a faith over fear t-shirt, says, "Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord," which triggers the person. No. So,
I just think that for what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of Christians out there who are not rooted in God's word. They're looking to the skies and the stars, but they're not like to where their help comes from. They're looking to what they could find out, some discovery that still needs to be made that would answer all the questions that they still have in their mind about the beginning of time and this creation or all of whatever it is. Instead of going to God's word, they're looking to something else. And so faith is all going to just crumble away. That's being built on the sand, not on the rock.
Well, with an increasingly secular culture, non-Christian culture, the rise of faith in science, which can be its own sort of religion, aliens become sort of a second coming, becomes sort of our salvation lies in the stars. So it's a replacement. It's a religion in and of itself. But the actual existence of alien life, if there was alien life, it would cause us to have to, answer some questions.
Wrestle with.
Yeah.
Some things that maybe, we've never had to confront.
But it wouldn't cause us to throw out the gospel, to rule out the authority of the Bible, because if something is unidentified, it doesn't necessarily mean it's supernatural. And so if something is discovered within creation, well, there's still a creator, right? Everything was created by God. And so we're not scared of reality, and we can be curious, and we can keep grounded in the Word of God. Now, let me give you some points as we move forward to kind of build our discussion around. The first one is the Bible does not say that God only created life on earth. Okay, that's not ever stated. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." So that means that everything that exists owes its existence to God. That means the galaxies, the stars, the planets, the moon, the angels, people, animals, protozoa, all the way down, everything else that God created. So if tomorrow scientists discovered microbial life on another planet, that wouldn't disprove Genesis at all. It would just mean, hey, God created even more things, that we hadn't discovered yet.
I heard this really cool TikTok. It was a short for me, but it came from a TikTok, a YouTube short. And it said something that the that we have as humanity have discovered over 2 million different species.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the rate we're discovering new species, there could be, when you do the math, up to 7 million species on our planet, like at the bottoms of the ocean and underneath ice in Antarctica. There are lakes with life in them. And they're like, what's going on? We're always discovering new creations that God created in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have such a creative God, such a life-giving God. And so wherever life exists, it exists because God gave it life.
Yeah.
And so when scientists talk about the possibility of life on other planets or, other places, they usually start with what we know about life here. And on Earth, all life is carbon-based, and life depends on water. And water acts like the environment where all of these chemical reactions take place. So when scientists are looking for life on other places, they look for water first. They look for water. But what's interesting is scientists also admit that if there's alien life, it might not work the same way that life works on Earth. It could be based on some chemistry that we don't fully understand. So instead of water, maybe it would be ammonia or some kind of liquid methane that we don't even know. So even science has to approach this with humility and understand that they haven't figured it all out for sure. But as far as we can tell, you need the right conditions for life. You need the right kind of atoms. You need molecules that can hold together at the right temperatures for the environment. You need some kind of liquid where the chemical reactions can happen. You need an energy source like sunlight. You need protection, some kind of ozone layer or something like that from radiation and an atmosphere. And so even beyond this planet or the planet, let's say the planet where the alien life would be from, the whole solar system matters. The stars, the planet's position, the age of the systems, the presence of other planets, a large moon. That's why life on this planet right here is so miraculous, because it takes millions of combinations, if not billions of combinations, in order for us to be here, for there to be intelligent life. And so, we have this argument or this thinking like, oh, the galaxies, the universe is so large that surely it's arrogant for us to think we're the only living, sentient, conscious beings in the universe. And at the same time, it's like, yeah, but it kind of discounts the fine tuning of what it takes for us to have the life that we have. For that to be present anywhere else would be miraculous.
Right.
If we talk about life like we think of it, not like just some living organism, right?
Right. And I think that's the problem when you have these conversations, is that if you're getting into arguments with something like, hey, it would totally, just shatter the foundations of Christianity, it's because you're not putting an intelligent being behind the design and creation of everything that you just talked about. Like, we did not, like, if you take God out of the mix with the planets and the position of the earth at the right angle and the degree, and if the moon wasn't locked in its rotation to earth and everything else, and if we were a little bit closer to the sun, or we a little bit further away, we burn up or we freeze to death. Like, that's not Big Bang. That's not accidental. That's God, who is an intelligent designer, created all of it. Well, then that really does start to cement for me that God created this. For me, that you can't tell me, like, I think with aliens, I think they created us, and they're going to come back and reveal to us their plan for us the whole time. I think that's the really cool speculation about aliens, is because it would answer all my questions if I don't have God at the center.
Yeah. Yeah.
If God's not the one who did it all, maybe someone else did. But if they show up, then I could look at that and go, God is the creator. and he created in the beginning, okay, either they're going to start evangelizing to me or I'm going to start evangelizing to them.
Exactly. I love that. I want us to talk about that some more too. But scientists point to a few places in our solar system where microbial life could have existed or could possibly exist. Mars, Jupiter's moon Europa, Saturn's moon, all of these have had liquid water or have had.
Mm-hmm.
Titan is another moon of Saturn, and it has lakes of liquid methane, geological activity, nitrogen-rich atmosphere, organic compounds, and so it kind of, scientists claim it resembles an early version of our planet. And, since the 1990s, as we have increased our ability to see into space, astronomers have discovered thousands of planets orbiting other stars, and those are called exoplanets. And some of those perhaps have conditions where life could exist.
Yeah, Alpha Centauri is the closest star, 7 light years away. So I think the light has to travel 186,000 miles a second for 7 years. If you could travel that speed, you could get there in 7 years. That's how far away the nearest star is. But they pointed the Hubble telescope at it, and they were like, this thing's loaded with what looks like planets that could give a life-bearing platform.
And when we hear that, our response should be awe. Like, isn't God awesome? Isn't our God
incredible?
So
big.
Awesome? The more we learn, the more our jaw should drop, right?
Yeah.
Because scientists can study carbon and water and atmospheres and moons and planets and all these things, but the Bible tells us in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So when we look at all the complexity of life, we don't have to be afraid. We know it's all been created by God, and every new discovery is another opportunity to give praise and worship to God, who is even bigger. And I mean, creation is even bigger, which means, that's designed to bring glory to God. And that's what we should do as we discover more and more. It should just fill our hearts with wonder and awe of the Creator. But then the second thing here is that the Bible's focus is on mankind, because that's the story of the Bible. The Bible is the story of God's redemptive plan for humanity, and that's the focus. That is the plot. The Bible is not an encyclopedia of everything that God has ever made. So what you read in the Bible primarily is the story of creation, the fall, redemption, and restoration, and it's all centered on the work of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing that's interesting is that, people have wrestled with this question for a long time. This isn't just a modern sci-fi Hollywood question that we're dealing with. In the early centuries of Christianity and throughout the Middle Ages, a lot of Christian thinkers were very skeptical of the idea of life on other planets. And some of this was because they were trying to protect the unity of God's creation. Thomas Aquinas is an example. He had concerns that if there were multiple worlds, that it might somehow divide or complicate the way that we understand how God works creatively. And then you've got Nicholas of Cusa. He had a bigger view of the universe, and he believed it was at least possible that God could have created life in other places. Another thinker was Giordano Bruno, and he pushed the idea of many worlds. And that was part of the controversy that surrounded him when he was executed in 1600. But the big name in all of this, and you know this name, was Copernicus, right? And Copernicus, in 1543, he published his work on heliocentrism, which showed that the Earth was not at the center of our solar system.
Right.
And it changed the way we started thinking about the universe. because if the Earth is one planet orbiting one star and there are countless other stars out there, then a lot of Christians start to wonder, could there be other worlds? And if there are other worlds, could there be life there? Okay, move forward to the 1700s and 1800s. Many Christian thinkers actually started to embrace that idea and didn't see the vastness of the universe as a threat to our faith. They saw it as another display of God's greatness.
Okay.
So there were many names associated with this, but what they believed was that if the cosmos is full of life, as we said, then it magnifies God's creativity. There were some dissenters, some people who pushed back on this. Galileo, Descartes, Kepler, they were not convinced that there was life on other planets. But this has been a real conversation. I feel like, again, we feel like we're in tinfoil hat territory. But this is actually something that Christian thinkers have debated and discussed for centuries. So there was even a term that came up in the early 1700s called astrotheology. And that basically means thinking theologically about outer space, about the stars, the planets, and the possibility of life outside of this planet. And then I love, to bring in C.S. Lewis, imagined what Christianity would look like beyond this planet. And so historically, many Christians move from seeing the possibility of extraterrestrial life as a threat to seeing it as a possibility, an opportunity to worship God. A bigger universe doesn't shrink God. It only makes him bigger, right? And if God created life somewhere else, it just means that there's more life out there than we knew about.
I really love that. I don't think we can wrap our heads really quickly around the history lesson that you just gave every one of us about some of the major voices in faith and science and solid, reputable voices that had the same stance.
If they had done a podcast, it would,
you know what I'm saying?
They would have done something like this.
What does that say though about like these confident voices that are all in agreement with one another over the spans of hundreds, if not thousands of years?
Yeah.
Versus what you hear there's that saying like the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is not the confident voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
The loudest voice in the room is not the voice you should be listening to.
Yeah.
Who is the one that's confident? They're the one. And what are they saying? And so in light of, what we heard with the pastors and everything else and media going on out there, just to look back and see what others have said, I think is very beneficial to your faith, that you're in good company.
Yeah.
If you're not going far off the rails with every conspiracy.
And it's not just like something that we've sort of discovered in the past 10 or 50 years. It's something that has been developing our theological view of the universe. And I love one of my favorite Psalms, which there's so many, but one of my favorite ones is Psalm 8, that says, when I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place and you've set in motion, and then what is man that you're mindful of him, human beings that you care for them. Man, it's just, I'm getting goosebumps or whatever, but thinking about that, like the vastness of the universe, and yet God cares for you individually as a person. So, David, King David, he looked up, or David the shepherd boy, he looks up at the vastness of creation, and he doesn't look at it and go, oh, there must not be a God. Instead, he says, how great is our God. He says, oh Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. And I'm amazed that you see me, that you know me. And
I'm not looking up and desperation to find answers. I'm looking up because when I look up, I see the answer.
That's so good. That's so good. Here's the third truth, or the third issue we want to deal with. The bigger question is a theological question, not just a biblical question, because it raises questions like this is what you brought up earlier. I want to get into this. If intelligent alien life existed, then what questions would we have as Christians? Are they moral creatures? Have they fallen? Did they rebel against God? Do they need salvation? How has God dealt with them? How has he revealed himself to them? And we don't have those answers in the Bible, but the Deuteronomy 29:29 says the secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things revealed belong to us. So we're responsible for what he has revealed to us in his word. We're not responsible for the things he hasn't revealed to us. And our job is to build our lives on the foundation of what he's given to us. But I'm just thinking of that. Like, yeah, if I meet an alien, it's going to be, did you know God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life?
That's if they come in peace.
Our sin separates us from God.
Yeah.
Jesus gave his life. And so that would be the conversation. The center of Christianity is not our planet. The center of Christianity is Jesus. So the big question is, if alien life exists, what does that mean for salvation? And then the biggest question, would Jesus' death on the cross apply to them? So I feel like maybe I said this last week, but because I've said it a lot, but Larry Norman, who's called the father of Christian rock, he has a song called UFO that you can go on YouTube and listen to. But the bridge is the most important part of the song, says, if there's life on other planets, I'm sure that he must know, and he's been there once already and has died to save their souls. So, that's just one of the things in my head when I think of the possibility of aliens. So, the traditional Christian answer would be this: Jesus is his death and his resurrection, his life, his death, his resurrection are enough because he is Lord of all creation. He died once for all. And Colossians 1 says that all things that were created through him, for him, by him, the visible and the invisible, and that he is, even right now, he's holding all things together. He's holding the universe together. So if there's life on other planets, Jesus would be supreme over all of them, and Christ is sufficient. Okay. So again, nothing about the possibility of aliens changes who Jesus is. And this can strengthen our faith. Do we believe that Jesus just matters to this planet, or do we believe that he's Lord over the universe? And when you begin to think of him as Lord over the universe and realize his supremacy,
that's good.
His omnipotence, that gives you just a much bigger picture of God. Okay. You want to respond to that?
I mean, how far do you want me to go off the rails?
Go off the rails.
I don't want to
go off the rails.
I don't want to step on
all the way off.
So, that's assuming, the argument would be, that's assuming, or I would say the argument there, if we're talking about the theological part, that they come in peace.
Okay.
There's the, world of wars.
Yeah. The War of the Worlds. You said you would punch them in the face like Will Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's my thing. Like, here's the deal. Like, I agree too. Like, the Bible, I wrote down, the Bible doesn't make any claims about life on other planets, but it does acknowledge the existence of other intelligent beings created by God. These are what we would call angels or fallen angels. So for me, and I don't know where you're at, it's not a question of, or a conversation, I'll say, of interdimensional as much as it is one of extra, or it's more interdimensional spiritual than it is extraterrestrial.
Okay.
So, but if Will Smith and the independent, alien Independence Day Martian shows up, I don't think that just destroys your Christianity, because Christianity already accommodates the existence of other intelligent life forms out there, i.e. angels. You see angels interacting with humans in the Bible. Lot, Abraham, an angel ministered to Jesus in the garden. And so it doesn't mean that if aliens show up that Christianity's out the window. You kick it out with the baby out with the bathwater, because even in our book, in the Bible, you have intelligent life interacting with other intelligent life who were all created by God in Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through Genesis chapter 2.
You've got the spiritual and the physical. You've got both worlds, and
both worlds were affected by Christianity is centralized on one moment in time. What you're just talking about, the finished work of Jesus at the cross. Both the spiritual world and the physical world and creation was affected by not the resuscitation of Jesus, but the resurrection of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so everything revolves around him, and he is Lord of all. So, I mean, my problem with the aliens is that, whatever they are, whoever they are, and if they ever arrive, and they say the narrative is that we're going to come in peace, and we seeded you in the beginning. This is the narrative, right? This is what people think of. We seeded you and we created you, and we've been watching you from a distance, but now you've become so
creepy,
so bad, and you've become so evil in your actions that you're about to destroy yourselves. So we're going to step in, we're going to intervene, and we're going to save you from yourselves. Well, we were created in the image of God, reflecting his divine qualities and purpose, not another life form. Jesus Christ and his finished work on the cross saves us from our eternal separation and our sin. And he is the only one that can bring true reconciliation. So I guess for me, I just kind of land on, like, if anything were to show up and start saying, anything other than Jesus show up and say, we're preaching responsibility for creation, reconciliation, and salvation, don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing, is what is the message that they're bringing?
If they bring that message, I know it's not
right.
Whatever it is, it's opposing my God. So if it preaches the opposite and it comes and is like, hey, you guys, pretty cool planet you got going on here. Let me tell you about my Jesus.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. We don't explore that theory at all.
So in the Bible, there is a whole spiritual realm that we see, that is a reality that we don't see, but we see it described and told to us in the Bible. That includes God himself.
Yeah.
God is spirit, and then you've got angelic beings, the cherubim, the seraphim. You've got the Ophanim, which is wheels that we see in Ezekiel chapter 1 and chapter 10.
Could we not go more of a spiritual route there? You see all these circular discs, objects running through there that no one can identify. There is an angel.
Yeah.
In the Bible.
Yeah.
That describes it kind of checks some of the boxes of what you see on these little fuzzy videos.
Yes. You've got angels. You've got messengers that we see.
Archangels.
Archangels. And there's that whole hierarchy.
Watchers.
You've got, you've got some beings that are hard to explain. Like, we hear this brought up many times when it comes to this topic, and that is the Nephilim, which are the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. You've got, and you read about them in Genesis chapter 6. You've got the Rephaim, which is the spirits in the underworld, and you see those in several chapters in the Bible. You've got you've got some creatures that are talked about that are kind of mysterious, like Leviathan, the behemoth. You've got those beings, and you've got the rebellious spiritual beings, like the demons, principalities and powers, and Satan himself. So there's a whole
in the book of
list.
Revelation, you have beasts that will come up out of the ground and destroy God's creation.
Yes. And so this is all for a Christian, somebody who takes the Bible seriously. You've got to contend with the fact that this is a spiritual reality, and it's something that is going on all around us. And sometimes many times the spiritual impacts the physical. And so we do have to have that discernment and be, not everything is a demon, and yet there is demonic activity. And many times we discount it.
Daniel prayed and asked God, and the answer was delayed 21 days because Gabriel, the messenger, said, "I've been too busy fighting the prince of Persia, the prince that's in the air. The prince. There is demonic assignment trying to stop me from getting God's message to you."
Yeah.
There's something going on there that's, you could call it extraterrestrial, interdimensional, but at the end of the day, you can just settle the plane on it's all God's creation. Even the fallen angels were God's creation.
Yes.
In the beginning, God created heavens and earth. He created, I believe, all the angels in that moment too.
So dualism is a belief system that there are two equal and opposite forces, spiritual forces. There is God, who is all good, and there's Satan, who is all evil, and that they would be equal and opposite forces battling against each other. And perhaps the outcome, we'll have to wait and see. But that is not what we see in the Bible. That is not Christianity. Satan is a created being, created by God. He is nowhere near as powerful as God, and he's already a defeated foe. Okay, and he can't do anything unless he is allowed to by God. God, has given him the ability to do what he does, but his days are numbered, and his future is sure that God created hell for the devil and his demons.
Do you think Satan believes that he can win in the end, or do you think he knows he's going to lose?
I think he knows he's going to lose, and he knew that.
The end game for him then is what?
To take as many people down as he can.
Right. And so a lot of the stuff we're talking
about as much from God as
is a distraction on the time, and that's the most valuable thing God's given you is your time. And he is using your time to be distracted off the thing that you could be growing and in your faith and your relationship, and being used by God to take as many people to heaven with you.
And that's why we need to not be distracted by all of this. I mean, I think it's important for us to spend this time talking about it, but it's not something we need to dwell on.
I'm one of those people, Pastor Cole, if I can get caught right back up into my sci-fi books,
and it's a rabbit hole that can go deep.
Ancient Aliens on Netflix now, and watch all 27 seasons again.
Yeah. So want to land on this idea: Jesus is still supreme over all creation. No discovery that we could ever make can remove Jesus from his throne.
Another cool thing. Oh,
okay. Go ahead.
You did a sermon one time, and you talked about all creation sings its praises to the Lord.
Yeah.
And you hit up the like the sounds from the celestial stars, right, all the way down to the marine life in the ocean, and it all is singing praises, and you kind of put it together in the song for us, and it was really cool. But you've also done, and we've seen it too, like the Hubble telescope again pointed to one of the deepest spaces in the black vastness of outer space, and they found this cluster of stars. They found this thing, and it's in the shape of a cross.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Even God's creation points to what Jesus did. What God's creation points to the finished work that Jesus would do for us on the cross.
Yeah.
The darkest parts of the
from
universe,
the smallest part of the cell, the human.
it's called the laminin.
Cell, yeah.
Holds us together, shape of the cross, to way out there, a constellation of stars, or a galaxy, if you will, in the shape of a cross. It's phenomenal. To me, you can't tell me if there were other life forms created out there. If there is a alien encounter at some point, there's a cross out there in deep space.
Yeah.
And it all points, so they would also have the same message, that it all points back to Jesus.
Yeah.
And what he did for us. And we were created in the image of God.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important that, when I said I'd talk a little more about C.S. Lewis, but ultimately his answer was, we don't need to build a whole theology around speculation, around what ifs or what could be, in terms of, life on other planets. And so, you think about human nature. You're talking about, what if they came with bad intentions? Well, it would be the same as us. Like, human nature is such that how long would it take for us to
so
do the
just
same?
go back a couple thousand years and imagine you're living here. We don't have technology. We don't have the running water. We don't have the luxuries of life. And there's this tribe from Nebraska that we've never met. Maybe they're from Alabama. They don't have teeth in their head. They're from Louisiana. They sound funny. They look funny.
Yeah.
They look different.
Sure.
Right? And they come over here and they meet us. That's an alien encounter. That
Sure.
is, we don't know you and you don't know us.
Yes. And we fear what we don't understand or what's different.
And what they come and what they proclaim and what their message is, it depends how we go forth about interacting with one another. But I would say, like, we've been having since the beginning of history, like humanity, we've been having like those kind of encounters. It's not with, I mean, someone from China meets someone from Africa on a trade route. What what do you do? Well, I'm going to tell you about my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you about what God's done for me.
That should be our primary concern. Let me ask you this, Bobby.
By the way, C.S. Lewis, didn't he have space trilogy?
He did. He wrote a space trilogy, Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra. They're interesting reads. I don't know that they're his best work.
Not the Chronicles of Narnia.
Not Mere Christianity, or Screwtape Letters, or any of those. But yes, there is a space trilogy, and so ultimately his take is, humanity is fallen, and wherever we go, we take our sin with us. But God is there, ready to redeem. And so let me ask you this, Bobby. If someone asks you the question, or maybe they make the statement, if aliens are real, that would really shake my faith. What would you say to that person?
I would ask them why it would shake their faith.
Okay.
And then I would try to redirect them to, well, I would tell them it wouldn't shake mine. Because my faith it's built on an understanding that God is a creator of all, and he knows all, and everything happens. He's holding all things together. So if something like that happens, and like I said, I would try to explain, if it's something coming and it's preaching creation, salvation, and reconciliation, and it's not Jesus, beware of that. But if it's something else that's coming, and it's like that encounter I talked about with, someone from the Middle East with someone from an Indian tribe who's never met before, and they're both on this journey together in what we call life. Well, everything points back to Jesus. And so for them too, it just reinforces that God is an extensively magnificent creator, and we are just scratching the surface of his creation.
That's right. That's right. And the Bible does answer the most important questions. It's, where do we come from? Who made us? God made us. Why do we matter? Because we were made in the image of God by a personal creator. But what went wrong is sin.
But for me, like, I guess I don't think they're aliens.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
I think it's all spiritual.
Okay.
And we're looking at angels and demons. That's where I believe. And so I guess for me, it's a lot easier to, hey, I'm confident in this because I don't think that, okay, so you would say, but, like, it would rock Christianity because these are intelligent beings. Like, part of me is like, space travel is so difficult. I read a lot of sci-fi, right? Just the extraterrestrial, like, travel. Like, I don't think we can even contemplate the physics behind it. We can't do it. Well, you would say, Joe Rogan, if you're listening, you would say possibly like, well, it's intelligent. It's a more intelligent life form than us. And I would say, well, in the beginning, God created us. We were created in his image. So as men, as humans, we are creative beings, and we have the mind of Christ. You can't get any more intelligent than
That's
that.
good.
So there's nothing out there that's going to be more intelligent than what's in this book. And I mean, that covers the angels and the demons. And the angels and the demons, you might go, that's far more intelligent. They're far more powerful. Yes, but they look at us and they're going, wow, that's God's masterpiece right there, humanity.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just land on it's not extraterrestrial, it's spiritual.
Well, somebody said, it's time travelers from the future. We become so advanced that we come back here. And where would we come? They would come to the places like the United States where all the advancements have happened, and other places. Other people, I mean, we know there are governments who keep technology a secret, and they don't want us to know about their high tech. So, some of it could be that. Some of it is lens flares and, balloons and drones, and there's just all kinds of answers. So if there are unexplained things in the sky, we've got to be honest. We will always be curious, but we have to be discerning. We have to be discerning, and we have to be courageous. Right. And Jesus is not just Lord over this planet. He is Lord over all creation. And so no discovery is ever going to dethrone him from his rule and his reign. We can ask questions, and we don't have to be afraid of these things or be afraid of mystery. We know the clearest revelation of who God is in his son, Jesus. So whether we are looking to the stars or we're looking at the world around us, or wherever we're looking, we need to continue looking up, right? We need to continue looking to the God of all creation. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. And we look forward to seeing you next week as we explore some more of these questions that we couldn't get to today, but we'll do that next time. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a great week.